Welcome to Wrong Time Watch. My name is Kevin, and today we're looking at the Yema Peardiver. The MSRP for this watch is $749, and this is a diving watch that was inspired by the Yema Navy Graph 2, which is from the 70s. As you can see, there's a mixture of cream and white on the bezel, and also the second hand is white, and then everything else is cream color. Before we get further into the watch, let's take a quick look at the box here. It's a nice little leather case. So here's the case that it comes in, and it has a cardboard outer sleeve over this. I like the colors of this zipper here. It looks like the French flag. The watch is made in France, and it has the in-house Yema movement. Leather warranty card, neat little touch here. And then it also comes with this Tropic rubber strap. I have not used it, but it feels very comfortable, very quality. Feels like a nice rubber. It's not silicone. But typically if a watch comes on a bracelet, I just keep it on the bracelet. This is sized by pin and collar. Should have an extra pin and collar somewhere. I don't know, maybe I lost it, but it's a little tricky to size, but I was eventually able to size this bracelet. Kind of an H link, I guess, but you have a separate piece in there, so I don't know what you would call that style, but it's been very comfortable on wrist. So let's get back off to the side and bring the watch back over here. So we were talking about the bezel. This is an aluminum bezel, and this is the indices here are painted on, or the markings on the bezel, I should say. We'll zoom in and take a closer look at the dial. So these indices are painted as well. Everything is painted on this dial. It's a black, gray, matte dial. And down here at 6 o'clock you see France, because it is made in France. 660 feet for the diving water resistance. Automatic Peardiver. So it's a neat vintage inspired watch, something a little bit different than ordinary, than the norm. You have the drilled lugs and the signed crown. This is a large crown. No issues using this. Also, another great thing about this watch is there is no date. I really appreciate the no date watches, especially divers. Really no reason for a date on a dive watch. And here's the case back. See, what is the water resistance? 20 bar, 20 meter. So yeah, I do like the engraving on here, a Y for Yema. And the bracelet is, these are solid links, solid end link, solid links, pin and collar. Also does have a dive extension on a dive watch, so I would never use this, but it makes sense being on a dive watch. These two pieces are milled, and there's a little hook on here to keep it in place. So kind of a neat way of doing it, because you need this piece to fold into that piece, and then you need it to index or to attach to the clasp here. And we do have 4 micro adjusts, and you can use all those micro adjusts, unlike that spinnaker I had a while back. So yeah, stamped clasp here. These two portions are stamped, and then this portion here is milled, again with a hook feature here. I really don't care for the hook like this, but if you have a safety clasp, it's okay because it will stay engaged. And it is signed Yema. Let's see, what does this say here? Maison Horloger, France, I don't know. It looks like French. Clearly I don't speak French, and clearly my camera's not focusing. There we go. Must be founded in 1948, I think that says. Yep. All right, so very cool. And the clasp is signed as well with the Y for Yema. Bezel action is perfectly fine on this watch. No issues with it. It's a super tiny amount of backplay, but really not that much. My biggest issue with this watch is the cream and the white. It just kind of clashes to my eye. I don't really care for it. Other than that, I think it's a cool looking watch. This is a plexiglass crystal, a nice warm look and feel to it. Plexiglass crystal watches are slowly growing on me. You know, the Omega Speedmaster you can get with the Hesalite crystal or with the sapphire. I would always opt for sapphire because you get the display case back, but the Hesalite is the original design. So a lot of folks go for Hesalite because it's the original design. And it does look a little better to the eye, to me at least. That's my preference. Alright, so with this Yema 2000, movement is accurate to plus or minus 10 seconds per day, a 42-hour power reserve, and it is 8 beats per second. The watch is all brushed, really no polished surfaces. It's almost more of a, almost kind of looks more of a bead blasted finish, but I would say that is brushed. The bracelet is a little bit different texture than the side of the watch here. Hopefully you can see that. This watch is the first collaboration with a fan of Yema, and it was designed in a collaborative effort with this individual. I'll leave a link in the description below to the website. I think I'll have the information on there as well. And it does have Super Luminova. Dimensions of the watch. I do like the size of this watch for my smaller wrist. We're looking at 46mm lug to lug. These are female end links, but the bracelet doesn't fully articulate down. Maybe if you really pushed on it, but I think that's about it. This one side is a little farther out than the other side. But anyway, lug to lug, 46mm. Case diameter is 38. Thickness, it is a thick watch at 14mm, and lug width is 20, and it does taper down to 18. And that crown that I mentioned is a large crown. It's a 7mm crown. Let's compare it to my SKX009, and then I'll try and find my SKX013. It should be closer in size to this. Doesn't look quite as large as 38, but that's what I measured with the calipers. The SKX is a 42mm watch. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna go try and find my SKX013. Alright, so I found it, but I can't remember which hand I had this held in before with the 009 compared to this watch, but yeah, these are very close in size to each other. The Yema does look a little larger, but not that much, and it's a little bit thicker. It's about a millimeter thicker. I don't know how much you can buy these for anymore, but before they were discontinued, I think they're maybe $300, so less than half the price of the Yema with the Hardlux crystal. This is an aftermarket bezel insert, and the bracelet is some aftermarket bracelet too. So anyway, let's set that off to the side. We'll get this back on wrist. Let me know in the description what you guys think of this watch. Also, the cream is essentially fake patina, but then again you have the white, so I don't know, it's just kind of a mismatch to me. You would think if this watch were to replicate a vintage or an aged watch, then these white areas would also be cream color. But I guess the white paint on the second hand makes sense. I don't know, just something that I would change if I could. Alright, let's get this on wrist. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. And like the video. and leave a comment below. I'm curious to hear your opinions on this watch and anything else you want to talk about down there in the comment section. All right, here we are, my 6.5 inch wrist, and again, lug to lug is 46. It's not quite a female, not quite a male end link, so it wears a little bit larger than that 46 to indicate, but it's still very comfortable on my wrist. I have no complaints about the comfort of this watch on my wrist. It is a little thicker, but this crystal itself, I haven't mentioned, is 3.5 millimeter thick plexiglass crystal. And that makes up for, I would say, at least 2 millimeters of the thickness sticking up out of this case here, out of the bezel. All right, let's zoom out. This is the plastic for the strap I've never worn. Yeah, I think it fits great for my wrist, 6.5 inch wrist. Overall, it's a good looking watch. So I'll pause the video and I'll come right back with the Lume and see how that looks. We'll compare it to, we'll use the SKX009. I always use this one. So, all right, be right back. Since I have these side by side, reminded me of one more thing I wanted to talk about that I would change on the Yema is the second hand and the minute hand. The minute hand is supposed to be longer than the hour hand, but I wish the hour hand was a little thicker, something to differentiate it a little more, like on the SKX. Sometimes I look at the watch and I'm thinking that the hour hand is a minute hand and the minute hand is the hour hand. I'm not sure why. I think because of that large arrow on there, but just something else that I would change on this watch. So anyway, we'll be right back with the Lume. Alright, so on the left we obviously have my SKX009, and on the right the Yema Peardiver. I keep thinking Pearl Master, but it's Peardiver. And the Peardiver has Super Luminova. Super Luminova for the Yema, and then the Seiko has the Seiko Lumibright. And Seiko is clearly brighter than the Yema, but the Yema does have these 4 markers on the bezel that are lumed. But overall, the SKX has better lume. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. As always, thank you for taking the time, and thank you for watching. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Talk to you soon.